Welcome back to the Student Hub Live. In this session, we're going to talk about Office 365. Did you know that you can access Office 365 for free as an OU student? It provides a whole host of useful applications like Word and PowerPoint, along with an academic email address. So in this session, I'm joined by Jayne Horne from our computing help desk, who's going to fill us in on some common gotchas and mistakes so that we can all sign in successfully and make the most of this service. So Jayne, what is Office 365 broadly? What's included in the package?
Okay, yep, well, as you said, it provides access to your academic email address and the most commonly used Office applications that students use. So Word, PowerPoint, I'm sure everybody's used Word for a few TMAs here and there. There's also Excel and OneNote on there, and 1 terabyte of online storage via OneDrive. So if you want to save documents and files there, you can do so.
Brilliant. Now, do people need to use Office 365 if they're a student, no?
No, if you've got your own Office software that you prefer to use, so you may already have Word, you may already have OpenOffice or LibreOffice, you can continue to use that.
Yeah, I love OneNote. I've just started getting into that. It's so useful, and you can I have it on my phone and I can sync things to it. It's great fun. Okay, so everyone can use it then. How do they access it? What do they need?
Yep, so first of all, you need your academic email address, and to unfortunately answer a question with a question, people need to know their UKU, which is their Open University Computer username.
Okay.
So what that is it's normally your initials or ZX followed by a few numbers.
Yeah.
And quick question, does anybody know what theirs is?
Well, I think people have signed in to watch today's one with, I know what mine is.
Fabulous. Well, if anybody doesn't though, it's really easy to find.
How do you do that?
Yep, you sign into Student Home.
Yeah.
Then towards the top right hand corner, there's a link to profile.
Brilliant. So we can see that coming up on the screen here with a big red arrow on it.
Yep. So students click that, and then there's a little section that says contact details.
Yep.
Your UKU will be stated in there.
Brilliant.
So that forms the first part of your academic email address.
Okay.
The second part is at ou.ac.uk.
Right.
So one of the very common gotchas for signing in is people will type in at open.ac.uk, which for students won't work for them.
Right.
So with your academic email address, then to actually access the service, you go back to Student Home.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side of the page, you see a link to Office 365.
Yeah, and we'll show that now on the screen.
Yep, so that's where it is. Click on that, it takes you through to the sign-in page. You pop in your academic email address, then your Open University password, and you're in.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely. Now, I've got some questions here from people who we talked about Office 365 earlier. So, if someone's got a personal 365 account or an email address that uses the same email, like Hotmail or something, do they need to sign out of that then before they sign into this?
Yes. Unfortunately, when you're signing in, if you're already signed in, it will just redirect you to your personal account.
Right.
So what you need to do is sign out of your personal account, go back to the Office 365 link, and then sign in with your Open University one. Okay. It's quite easy to do. I'm sure everybody's signed in and out of accounts quite a lot, but for Office 365 services, it's in the top right. You click on the little icon that contains your profile picture or your initials, and then just select sign out from there.
Now, what happens then if people, like, I used to explain how to find your email address so you could remember that, but what about the passwords? Is that something, I'm always forgetting passwords and things, especially when I've got loads of different accounts.
Okay, so it uses the same password that you used to sign into the Open University. So if you forget that, you just go to the Open University and reset your password. Right. You can do that online.
So it's the same password for everything and the same UKU for everything. Mm-hmm. So you should write that down and keep it in a safe place to get into everything.
Yep.
Okay.
Although I have noticed some people, web browsers these days do like to store and save your passwords. Now, if yours does that, absolutely fine, but then you might be automatically signed into Student Home and thinking, oh goodness, well, how do I reset my password? If you're already signed in, you can do it via that profile link again. Okay. On the right-hand side, there's a change your password section.
Right.
Just remember that when you next go to sign in, you're going to have to type your password out. rather than getting your web browser to remember it, because it will be remembering the old one.
Okay, and then I can update it. All right,
Yeah.
brilliant. So you get this academic email address. Do you then need to use it, like to correspond with your tutor and things, or what can you do with it?
Entirely up to you. You can use it for correspondence if you do want to do so. Update your details via the profile tab again, but you don't have to. If you want to continue using a personal email address, perhaps because you find it easier or you've got more access to it, it's like signed into all your phones, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's great. Okay, lovely. And what are the benefits then of having that email address? Like, what's the point of it?
Okay, so it proves your student status. We as the Open University give you the email address and say yes, they're a student. So it's really handy if any companies or third parties provide discounts and offers to students. Quite often they'll accept an academic email address, a proof of your student status, and so you become eligible for the discounts and things like that.
Because you can get a totem card as well as an OU student, which gives you discounts on loads and loads of stuff, which is brilliant. But also I think Amazon Prime do discounts as well, don't they?
Yes, Prime with an academic email address, they have different, you know, what they offer is kind of up to them, but we do know that there's ones out there. If you do have any problems using your academic email address to register for these services, do remember that you've got to go to that company or that service themselves.
Right.
As the Open University, we say you're a student, but if they don't accept it, then
it's, So you can find out more about that if you visit the Open University Students Association page. You can find out about the NUS or totem card from that, and HJ's put a link in the chat as well for you, and also from that you can see some of the discounts on offer. So great. So basically you set your email up, you can then use that to validate things, but you don't need to use it for correspondence. It's just a useful thing to have. Okay, so that's cool. Right. So what if students then already have an Office 365 account? So say they've downloaded it from something else, and they've already been using their Open University email. What happens then? Is there a conflict?
Right, okay. So this is for students that may have been studying with us for a couple of years. You may have a Google Apps academic email address.
Okay.
Now, these accounts are being decommissioned in March, at the end of this month. So if you've registered for Office 365 using that account, then you will lose access to that.
And what do you do then?
You switch to the new account. If you're still studying, you'll have access to the new service. If you're not studying, unfortunately, you're not a student anymore, so you're not eligible for the new service. But you can download all of your documents, items, things like that from the Office 365 OneDrive. That's really important to do.
Right.
Also, with the Google Apps, if you've been using that during your studies, there's a service called Google Takeout.
Right.
You can find the link via the Help Centre, or you can just search for it. It comes up really quickly. So if you've been using those services as well, you can use that to take all your information. So it's really important if you want to keep TMAs that you've saved, for example, using those, then you need to do that by the end of March, is it? Yes. I would say do it before the end of March so that you're not doing it last minute. It's really essentially making local copies of any documents that you may have saved to OneDrive storage. The actual applications and things themselves, because that's software, you can replace it with other software. But your documents, because you know, they're the kind of piece of paper and the writing rather than the pen, you need to get those saved. You can always go and buy a new pen. What you've actually written, if that gets thrown away, that's gone.
I know, and I know from so many students, they like seeing, you know, assignments that they've done in the past. It's always good to look back and see how much better you've got. Okay, so that's the really, really important thing. What about then the Google Drive emails, if they're on there? Will people lose all their emails, and does that matter?
You will lose access to the account, so yes, you will lose the emails. As mentioned with the Google Takeout, that takes all your emails out as well. If you've registered with any other services using your my.open.ac.uk account, you'll need to update those services with your own email address or a new email address, because you won't have access to the Google Apps one after the end of March.
Okay. And what about calendars? I mean, that's one thing I use in like my email sort of area so much. So what about things like calendar invitations and things like that, and Outlook?
Okay. As I say, if you've used the Google account to register for Office 365, that's going. Outlook is one of those funny ones where if you've used it all online, Microsoft themselves unfortunately don't have a kind of quick and easy export service using the online applications. But if you've been using Outlook that's installed on your computer, you can export calendars and things like that to various file format types. You may need to do a little bit of your own research into which one is best for you, but normally it's a PST file. Those kind of things are generally used. So you can do that, export all of your kind of calendar invites and things like that, and then import them into a different calendar service.
Yeah, like birthdays and important things to remember all the time.
So you're dragging it out of one and putting it into the other.
And if people get stuck, Jane, can they call the Computing Help Desk about things like this?
Yeah, we'll do our best. Unfortunately, we are limited as to what we can actually do with the tools and services that are available. In terms of if you need help with using Word, PowerPoint, Excel and things like that, we'll do our best, but we can't always help you out with these kind of things. The best thing to do is actually go onto the Help Centre. There's a few guides in there, and the Microsoft site itself, the help site, is brilliant. It's got lots of screenshots and things, and takes you through lots of interesting little things that you may not have known that you could do, like compressing image files within Word documents themselves and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I love those little tools, and it's often really more useful seeing something on a video or a short sort of piece of text, and it shows you step by step. It's easier than talking through it, isn't it? Okay. Now, you mentioned as well that this is for students studying. What are the sort of parameters then in terms of who can access Office 365 and who can't?
Okay, yep. So to access the new service, you need to be currently studying on a module, although it has been around for a little while. So if you're taking a break at the moment, but you studied perhaps last year and signed up for the service, you'll still be able to access it for 2 years.
Right.
If you aren't studying on a module and you did have the Google Apps one, but at the moment you're not studying, you won't have access to the new service. Okay. If you have an Open Learn account, again, you won't have access to the service because you're not an Open University student, although fantastic. Enjoy the little courses on there, they're brilliant.
Yeah. And also, if you're a student now and you're studying, you can then access this, and you'll also have it for 2 years after you finish, won't you?
Yes, you do. So that's really useful for opening up, as you say, the LTMA, scratching your head over them a little bit and going, that was it.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, that's absolutely brilliant. Well, Jane, thank you so much. I hear we've got some tips and also a picture of Thomas.
Yes, we actually had a picture of Thomas came in, which I'm very excited about. I love to see people's different study buddies. So remember, if you've got one to send in, like Jade has, of your study buddy, just studenthub@open.ac.uk. And we've also been looking at our widget as well, with all the things that we're most excited about. So a lot of people have said meeting people. I like meeting people at tutorials. It's always nice to chat and see how far behind you are with everyone else. A lot of people are looking forward to spring, which I think George would agree with, because it is rather cold outside today. Making new friends, growing, writing, widening experiences, finishing the modules, and a lot of learning. That's what we're excited for today. But we've also been talking about like all the discounts and great things that the @ou.ac.uk email address gives us. I know there's a restaurant just down the road from me that accepts the Uni Days app that I can use with my open.ac.uk email address, and you get good discounts on books and things like that. So definitely worth having a look at. And we posted a link as well how to get the 365, which is fantastic.
That's right.
Excellent, thank you. And George, anything from you?
Well, really, it's just about how students can access the 365. Also, the support that's available. So we do get students phone up going, I can't actually log on to my student home at all. And so it's just making them aware that we do have the Student Computing and Distribution Help Desk. Yeah. It's sort of making them aware that they're not stuck.
Yeah.
So,
no, exactly. There is so much support for students. When you're not here, Jane, and you're on the Computing Help Desk, what are the most common things that people tend to phone up about?
Signing in, usernames and passwords and things like that. With the Office 365, we've got an awful lot of calls about what academic email address to use. Quite a few people were trying to use their personal identifier rather than their Roku, so that's another common gotcha. don't get them muddled up. They look incredibly similar, but the uku is the double letter and then followed by digits.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, Jayne, we shall let you go back to the help desk. Thank you so much for filling us in on all of that and for answering all of our questions. That's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so we're going to play a short video now, which is one of our Open Diaries films, because next I've got Alexander Bailey, who features in that film, and he's going to come and talk about student satisfaction from his perspective as a student, and about the importance of applying learning and establishing your own goals. So join me for that next session after this short video.